All right, Sam Okus, editor-in-chief of Nation's Restaurant News, here with Phil Kafarakis, the president and CEO of the International Food Service Manufacturers Association. So many words.
That's right.
IFMA, as we all know it and love it as. Phil, tell us a little bit about IFMA. What is this association? What does it provide for members?
We are a 70-year-old organization of the food service manufacturers community. So there are big brands that that are well known, that do business in retail and the consumer packaged goods space. We have a lot of those brands that also serve the food service and restaurant community. We have emerging brands. We have private label brands. So we represent a community that services the food industry in that particular channel. And now it's evolved beyond just restaurant food.
Sure.
So we're everywhere.
Okay, so we are now in Austin for COEX, Chain Operators Exchange. Tell us what this event is intended to do.
Yeah, COEX has been around for more than, I would say, more than 30 years. And it's called the Chain Operator Exchange because it's put on by the chain operator community. And it's for operators by operators. So as our community from a manufacturing standpoint engages with their customer that are restaurateurs in this particular segment are chains, emerging chains, established chains, we put together a committee of operators. And here we've had a committee of more than 35 chain operators across the country who put together the format, the programming, and then they recruit speakers, they recruit folks that would be on panels, and they actually execute the event.
Sure.
We help facilitate it for them. We give them the framework, and our community comes together to be able to have that exchange, that direct one-on-one relationship with what they need, what's happening. And in this community, it's not just the manufacturers and the operators. We have a distributor community that's present. We have the food broker community that's present. So it's a holistic, group of folks that have come here, very excited about being out live.
Yeah.
And they have we've got a very dynamic agenda the last 2 days.
So of course, good timing for everybody to be together talking because lots of issues right now with supply chain. Tell me what are manufacturers, distributors, brokers, what's the scope of the challenge facing them today?
Yeah, well, the one thing we're hearing here at the conference and is resonating is the notion of culture in corporations and the ability to mobilize your workforce, the ability to treat your people properly. So you've got motivated people that can then service, whether it's in an operator environment or manufacturing environment. We're hearing a lot about culture. We're hearing about how technology has transformed some of the actual service providing that takes place in a restaurant environment. And, from bots at the drive-through, when you have voice recognition that's taking place at places like Checkers, with Frances Allen, their CEO, telling us about how she's able to implement that kind of technology that people have been working on for years, and what that's done to the transformation of her back of the house with the equipment side of how that has helped take the pressure off of labor, but can speed up the engagement at the service point through drive-through again. Technology continues to be a topic of conversation. So as we've heard, we did a session here where we actually had the community participate in an industry working model on what is it that the manufacturing community can do to relieve the supply chain challenges and then help the operator. And it had to do in areas of, again, packaging, had to do in areas of simplification of the menu with ingredients and being involved in technology and helping participate in those strategic decisions.
I keep hearing from folks talking about this notion of how, in the supply chain, everybody's having an issue. It's not one place where this is getting hung up.
That's right.
It's everybody. So how are you working with each of the individual stakeholders for IFMA to navigate through some of those challenges?
Sure. One of the big components that IFMA provides from a benefit standpoint to the community is the research and the best practices that have been put together. There's a collaboration model that's been put together that's part of the membership packet that we share with the community. It talks about a formal process of integration, collaboration, and strategic alliance. So we bring that forward and then we bring it to life by actually having the operator community talk about how they did that with a particular manufacturer. At the same time, we take the research and the information we have and we put that forth, so that helps from a planning standpoint, so that when we're talking about demand planning, we're talking about forecasts, it helps everyone along the supply chain understand, what really is coming ahead. We work specifically with the manufacturers to provide those programs to them. And then we have programs that work with the operator, because we've developed what's called the consumer journey in food service that allows operators to understand buying habits and the ability for them to listen and hear how particular consumers react to the eating occasion, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, what is happening in their changing habits, particularly in a food service environment. So all that comes together in these events, particularly COEX, that brings all that research and that programming to life. The other big thing is putting them together. So they were working on the industry model earlier today, and now there's a meeting of manufacturers and suppliers going on. It's basically a kind of a speed matchmaking meeting where you sit down with a numerous group of chains and you start to talk about programs and the ability to actually connect with them and try to sell them something. And they too, on the operator side, are looking for innovation and new products. So they have an opportunity to sit for 15 minutes and have an introductory conversation, which is another component of why these conferences are so big, and that's why everybody loves being live and in living person.
Makes a difference.
It's a really good thing. Yeah,
absolutely. So you've been able to take the temperature of everybody here who's gathered for COEX. What's the sense for the 2022? What's the sense for how things will go? Are we getting to a point where there's more optimism, or not yet there?
Yeah, I would tell you there's pent up optimism. I think first of all, people are just excited to be back and see their colleagues, their friends, people in the industry that all of us have been doing business with each other for a long time, getting to meet new people that have come in. There is a sense of optimism because we can see that some of these supply chain challenges in the current environment seem to be resolving themselves. Clearly, it's not over with respect to the shortages and the issues that we're having, but they're not as compact in a shorter period of time, and there's less issues. So I think that's helping everybody. I think the other piece is everybody sees the demand that's out there, that's pent up, and trying to deal with it. So labor and people are a very big part of the conversation here. And, I think we've reached a place where we understand that this notion of culture and how you treat people in an environment that has got pent up demand and they're stressed with respect to fulfilling it is the absolute point of where it all starts.
Right.
Because we think about the supply chain, we can't get product. Well, as you start to get product, it's about, can you fulfill the customer experience at the point of purchase?
Right.
So I think that's the other thing that everybody's thinking about. So it's been, I think a really good start to the year, understanding that there is light at the end of the tunnel. But as one of the speakers said today, it's not going to be normal for any point in time.
Yeah,
it's more about the abnormal, and let's get used to this new abnormal. So it's an interesting dynamic.
The new normal is abnormal.
Yeah, that was right. What I learned today.
Well, Phil Kafarakis, the president and CEO of IFMA, thank you so much for taking some time.
Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate Nation's Restaurant News being part of the program. So thank you very much.